We was literally trained to kill people.
7. Headshot.
But we was not allowed to cook a burger on a George Foreman. How does that make sense? Make that make sense. Yo, so I'm back with another video. This week I'm going to be going over the 3 Royal Marine rules which really annoyed me and many others. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below and the bell button. Without any further ado, I'll get straight into it. So during my time in the Royal Marines, there was a number of things that got under my skin and many others, but I'm going to go over the 3 most annoying ones in this video. Starting off with, as you've already seen, the George Foreman. It's literally what I said at the start. We are meant to be the elite fighting force. I'm literally trained to use a grenade to turn a room full of people into pink mist, yet we come back to the grot to cook some food and we aren't even allowed to use a hot plate, a George Foreman, to cook a burger on, or a steak, or something like that. We're not old enough to use a George Foreman. How does that make sense? You didn't have to cut me off. We could use toasters, microwaves, etc. Which, to me, again, comment if you think that is relevant, comment down below your opinion. But to me, that is the first rule that used to grind me, because a George Foreman is super easy. And people were actually using it, because of course lads were still using it because they're so easy and so versatile to use, and they heat up quickly, and you don't have to wait for things. You can cook steak in there, which is a massive thing, or chicken, or whatever you want. Protein. People having to use it, wait for it to cool down and clean it and stuff, and then hide it in places. Like, lads were putting it in like cupboards, in their rooms, under their bed, whatever, trying to hide the George Foreman, which is crazy. Not only that, in the block there was people which were a lot older than me. So say when I was in there and I was 20 years old, there were lads that were like 40 years old, corporals and stuff, and they also had to abide by the same rules. Now, again, I think that is ludicrous. So straight on to number 2, which is informed sport. If you don't know what informed sport is, essentially a list of companies that we in the military are allowed to get our supplements from. So they are basically deeming it safe for us to have these supplements from these specific companies, okay, on the informed sport list. It's like a website. You can go online and see if you were that inclined, if you were into your sports, into the gym, etc., and you wanted supplementation, you were only allowed to use stuff from informed sport. Why, you ask, is because apparently the people that do the CDTs, which are the compulsory drug testing for stuff like amphetamines, recreational drugs, everything basically, which is 100% no-no, especially in the Royal Marines. It's a zero tolerance policy. They say that if you don't use this list, other companies lace all their products with that stuff.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And now you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. You have to stick to that list. But what you don't realise is you actually have to pay to be on that list. So if you're going for a company and the company hasn't paid to be on this informed sport list, their products are probably absolutely fine. So let's say, for example, a product from Insight, which is a company that I like to use, creatine, monohydrate, normal, there's nothing else in it. I wouldn't have been allowed specifically to use that creatine. But if it was from, I don't know, My Protein, which probably was on the list because they're such a mainstream big company, then I was allowed to use that. Other reasons why that was a bit annoying is because, like I say, you had to pay to be on that list, and all of the ones on that list were a bit naff. It was all like bulk powders or My Protein, like I said. Maybe grenade stuff was on that list. Even though grenade stuff has like the most amount of fat burning supplements and probably stuff that really is not good for you at all. However, there's other companies which I like I say, the Insight and stuff like that, which I wanted to test their products and stuff. And not only that, if you are into sports and you go to events and stuff and you go to expos, you can't buy any stuff from there. And also, not even buying any stuff, a lot of people do like competitions, or they'll give out loads of tasters, and it'll just be like, oh, non-stim pre, have a try of this, have a try of this flavor. If you'll buy the book, you literally have to be like, no, I can't try this. And they'll be like, why can you not try this? And I have to basically sit there and explain that some balder beast sergeant from the CDT team has told me that everybody else's products are going to be laced with amphetamines and other things that is going to fail me and end my career. as a Royal Marine, basically. So yeah, that was very annoying at times. Not only the expos, but also if you are deployed away, even with work, or if you go on holiday or something and you can't like bring your supplements with you, but you still train and you like to take things like protein and creatine and stuff like that. By their rules, you weren't allowed to go into a gym and just buy like a pre-made protein shake and stuff. You had to get it literally from their informed sport list of companies. So, say if you was deployed away, which I have been many a times, for example, if I was deployed away to Norway and I ran out of maybe creatine, protein, BCAA, something like that, and I go to a shop, can't then just rebuy the stuff because technically it has to be on Inform Sports, and no other companies outside of the UK, I believe, or at the time that I was in, was on Inform Sports. So it made it difficult. Story time. So when I was deployed away, I have a story about this specific subject where essentially the CDT team, compulsory drug testing team, was called out for myself and another lad because of the supplements.
Party starts, goddammit.
So the story goes like this. We were having rounds, okay? For those of you who don't know, rounds is basically where you have your room looked at for cleanliness and making sure that there's no dust on any windowsills, making sure that there's no crap on the floor, just basically an all-over check of your personal space. No matter who you are and how old you was, you basically had this done. So the sergeant major was coming round, and of course, if the sergeant major is not really into the gym or into any sports and they're kind of like getting older, maybe out of shape,
Fucking disappointment.
they probably are going to start penalising the lads that are perhaps in shape and are perhaps using supplements, etc. No names named. He comes round and basically does his little checks. He's checking every single crevice for every single speck of dust, as they do. Looking through all of your personal stuff, as they do, and then sees the side, which has like protein and stuff. And first of all, sees my friend actually, and sees that he had creatine and picked up the creatine, which clearly states creatine, but obviously he doesn't know what creatine is. So he was like, "What is this?" And he explained, it's just creatine monohydrate, pretty simple stuff. The most researched natural supplement that you can have. And obviously creatine is within them lists on the companies. So he basically asked him, he said, "Is this from Inform Sport?" And where he was at the time wasn't obviously the UK. And no, it wasn't from Inform Sport. It was from Amazon, okay? So he obviously said, "No, I think it's from Amazon, but it's literally just creatine, the same as anything else, the same as that you can get from beef, okay, just for reference." And then came over to my room, and the same thing. He saw my protein and he saw my creatine and penalised me for that. And basically, the CDT team was obviously called out like that, and within the next week we was basically not allowed to go on holiday because we were planning to go away and wasn't allowed to go away, and basically had to go and have this test done to see what drugs we were on, and basically it came back obviously negative, and yeah, so he just had to eat his humble pie basically.
How is it? Good. Like you're enjoying yourself.
But that just goes to prove that you don't actually need to specifically be on them Informer Sports, and they're not all out to get you and have laced products. The third and final one is something called DLE, which in short is courses that you have to do online, just like online learning courses essentially. So these progressively got more and more over the years, and it's basically a set amount of courses that you have to do each year or maybe each 6 months, or some of them are up to about 2 years, but you have to make sure that they're done and they're in date. So at the start, obviously nobody had laptops and stuff like that. So when this time came around where these courses ran out of date, you would have to go and find a work computer and spend all day at that work computer working your way through these courses.
Oh, fucking diabolical.
Now you might be sitting there again thinking, well, actually, this is a pretty good idea because they keep you in date, they keep the skills high and stuff. But realistically, nobody remembers anything that they've done from them courses. I've done them courses every 6 months, like I say, or every year, and I can't tell you anything that was on them courses at all, because what happens is you just end up sitting at a screen and it's just black and white going through slides, and you just end up clicking through it. Let's be honest, you end up clicking through it. If they truly wanted you to learn something like that, they would just do a week where they take you and do lectures, which arguably are going to be semi-boring, but you can make a lecture more enjoyable than actually sitting in front of a screen for 7 hours a day for a whole week doing all of these courses. So the courses were something like fraud, information management passport. Don't even ask me what that was. How to manage information, fire safety training, heat illness training awareness or something, and there was a whole heap. There was like 4 what I just rattled off there, but there was probably about 20 something in total, literally in total. But yeah, for example, heat illness prevention. I had to sit there for a 2 or 3 hour course and complete a test at the end to get a certificate to then send off to someone to be like, yeah, we've definitely done this.
Oh no, it's good. It's good.
The whole thing was just a bit annoying, and yeah, doing a whole thing on heat illness prevention. Basically, all you have to do is don't let your body overheat and make sure that you're drinking water. Really, do we really have to be doing that? Like, we went through arguably the hardest training in the UK, so and then we have to do these heat prevention training after going through that. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. But yeah, that was super annoying because it took loads of time out of the day, and it's meant to make you smarter. But realistically, if you're sitting there looking at a screen for 7 hours a day continuously, you're probably going to get brain rot.
Okay.
So there we are. There are the 3 Royal Marine rules that got underneath my skin. Please put in the comments down below if you agree with the rules, or if you also agree with me and you think that they were completely pointless. Let me know. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, let's make some gains. Boom.